Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, e buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to your instant reaction pod. I'm your host, Sean McIntosh, joined by Caleb Adams to review Genoa Lazio. Much better feeling coming into this one, Caleb. A 3-0 victory for our boys, given a lot of downs lately and a tough start to this campaign. How you feeling after this 3 points on a Monday?
Man, I'm thrilled. I know that, there's some, if we get the nitty gritty, maybe there's some questions about the performance and the quality of the team. But considering the circumstances from last week and to come into this match and just 3-0 Genoa like that, I think it's something that I think there's some positives to take from this. And I'm just pleased to see the team not look defeated yet, when everything has been against them.
Yeah. And look, I think it's important to know, and we'll talk about it. We'll dive in. Certainly, some positives to take from this, some areas of opportunity, and Genoa not a side that would give us any reason for concern under normal situations. But this is a Lazio side that's obviously not in the midst of normal. Given a transfer block, given the state of injuries, which looks to have only gotten worse after this one. But let's jump into this where we always do, and that's with the starting 11. We knew a bit of an emergency has caused some shifts in players that are available and not available. The biggest one of note is Dele Bashiru out of the squad through the rest of this year. The decision was made to remove him from the player list. Insert Toma Basic. Here he comes, finally, with his chance to make an impact on this side. But look, the Dele Bashiru decision, completely understandable given what's a likely participate in AFCON, which would take him from the squad, for nearly a month. So strategically, they're looking at who's available, who's going to be available between his injuries and AFCON. It just made more sense to address the most immediate concern, which is just getting bodies that can play in the midfield. So we did see a shift in formation a little bit. I don't know. It seemed like maybe it bounced around between a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1. But essentially, we go into this one with Cataldi and Toma Basic as your true midfielders, Dia and Tati as your two strikers, kind of interchanging. Look to be Tati as the guy who is playing your more traditional advanced striker role. Cancellieri finding himself on the right, Zaccagni on the left. Nuno Tavares benched, as we all expected. So Pellegrini getting the start, your two normal center backs, and then Marusic on that right side. Again, of course, Provedel manning that number one position in between the pipes. And this one gets off to a really quick start for Lazio. It is a beautiful ball. Tati finding Cancellieri, who's down that right flank. I want to caution to say like an easy finish. There's space. It's a nice finish, but Cancellieri does his job using his pace, finding that window and curling it into the back of the net. And then in the 30-minute mark, Tati is kind of repaid a favor with a nice ball from Marusic, just a clean one-touch finish by Tati. Before you know it, it is 2-0 Lazio. A bit of a Genoa outburst before the end of that first half. Provedel is asked to come up big on multiple occasions. We really see Provedel at his best in that last 5 to 10 minutes of the first half, really salvaging our 2-0 lead going into halftime. And then we see a penalty being awarded in the 57th minute. The decision to award Genoa with a penalty has to go to VAR. I know we were in our text group going mad. The game would have been gone and completely lost if they were awarded a penalty in that situation. Romagnoli's arms were in a natural position. He's making a play on the ball. The correct decision was made to not award the penalty. And then in the 63rd minute, Cancellieri heads a ball that's knocked off the post. It's a brilliant ball. It's a free kick. Pellegrini whips the ball in, plays a nice cross in. Cancelleri heads it, hits off the post. Zaccagni there to finish it off. Nice post, far post, finds the back of the net. It's 3-0 Lazio. Ultimately, they see this one out for all 3 points, a clean sheet, 3 goals that we so desperately needed. Caleb, give me your 3 words or less to describe this match.
Counter-attacking clinic is mine. I mean, we talked about how a lot of this roster and the talents and skills and strengths of this personnel are more suited to a counter-attacking game. I mean, this is a team that historically a Saudi side would just have like 65% possession against, right? Like if this was during Saudi's first tenure, we have that ball at least 60% of this game. But I get, I mean, I don't think it was so much intentional, I think it was more so the game state, Genoa being at home, our players, the type of players that they are, that it became sort of this more counterattacking game for Lazio. And to look at the stats here, Genoa has 65% possession. This is a relegation side. Again, I mean, that's shocking. I mean, for a Saudi team against a team like this to have 35% possession and win 3-0 is crazy. Is this Saudi or is this Simeone? Like, I don't know. But regardless, I thought that we created a lot of. We looked really dangerous on the counter. I mean, every single time we countered, it felt like we had a chance of scoring. Tati was huge on the counter. Both Zaccagni and Cancelleri were avid runners. And of course, it helped to also have sort of that pivot of Cataldi and Basic in the back, kind of holding things down to protect, because it really was for the most part. Tati Dia is just a front four attacking, and it worked. The team finished with chances. Maybe you at some moments you say against the run of play, but got a clean sheet. Providel was huge for that. That's about as kind of by the book counterattacking clinic as you can have. I mean, So
no, it I'm not far off from you there. For me, it was clinical finishing matters, and this is what we've seen with this side so often struggling to take advantage of just a moment. And we see this. How many times have we been punished with a side that was simply clinical? So often it would feel like we'd be on the opposite side of this. As you said, Genoa with 65% possession. I mean, this is the type of match that we would see ourselves in, where all of a sudden we're up 70%, 60% possession. We're playing the ball. We're kind of making our movements. And then here we are in the final third, failing to finish, or we get the 1 or 2 chances that don't go our way. And then, I just think to how many times has this happened against a Juve, and then Juve, 1 chance, boom, finishes, game over, 1-0, we lose. And so it was really nice to see 4 minutes in, just I thought by run of play, I thought we were really sloppy early on. It was not a possession-based match. I think I agree with you 100%. Counterattacking seems to be better suited for the profile players that we have, just the state of where we are right now. But none of it matters if you don't finish your chances, right? And so this was, a little bit sloppy, not crisp, and it didn't matter because Cancelleri buried his chance. Tati buries his chance, and then all of a sudden you put the game away and you let the defense breathe a little bit, and they did, mostly good job. And then when they broke down, Providel was there to save the match and hold that clean sheet. So, I know you said you ran through the statistics, but 65% possession, but Genoa 1.69 expected goals to Lazio's 1.07. Again, 3 goals from an expected goal of 1. It truly that's clinical strong finishing. We had 6 shots on frame, and we walk away with 3 goals. So this one absolutely a clinical despite, and there were still opportunities that we didn't quite finish. And so, finishing really strong and still leaving some goals on the table, despite only having an XG of 1. I think this, if I want to look hopeful and project out, is the template for how we have to play moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll add, just like it's funny you mentioned other opportunities. Just looking at FOTMob stats here, Genoa had 3 big chances according to them, and Lazio had 6 big chances. How that relates to XG, I'm not really sure. You would think someone with more XG would have more big chances. But I did seem that despite the XG being a little different, at least from the eye test, it did seem like we had a lot more feasible and open looks than Genoa did today. But yeah, huge. This is very unusual for this type of team. The clinical is not really an adjective we use to describe the personnel on this team. So it
Yeah,
was
no,
great.
we haven't. Not since Cheeto's,
Yeah.
second to last season with us before,
Mhm.
he suffered his injuries. But again, it was more direct. You have a player like Cancellieri who has some pace, who can be very direct. Tati, who is fantastic in build-up play. But these guys have to, in order for us to progress and see results against bigger sides, these guys are going to have to be this level of clinical against those sides,
Yeah.
and so
Mhm.
that's going to be tough to maintain. But who look, 3-0 win. There were 3 different goal scorers. Different players played their parts. Who did you have as your man of the match?
We talked about it a little bit, in our private chats. I think there really only are 2 contenders for this. I went with Tati Castellanos as my man of the match. But Provedel is a great shout too. I think he was just as important today. But Tati, yeah, I think when I was coming to this game, I was actually thinking about the game last night and thinking about this episode. Some things that we could talk about. One thing that I thought about was, I looked at Milan's game against Napoli. Right, watched that game. Pulisic puts the team on his back, creates a goal, scores another. And Milan, who's front, Jimenez hasn't been all that good. Leon has been a bit, he's a great player, but, not been a little inconsistent this year. Despite that, it very much seemed to me that Pulisic has got sort of this put this responsibility on himself that I need to show up for this team. I need to lead this team. And I asked myself, watching that performance, I said, who is that for Lazio right now? Who is our Pulisic? Because despite Milan, that got a new coach, there's still an inconsistent side with inconsistent players, but there's one player who has said, like, I will take the mantle and I will carry us through it. We'll grind out games and I'll make sure of it, right? I was thinking, who is Lazio's Pulisic in this case? And of course, it's different competition. Napoli's a much more talented side. But I was thinking, like, we really don't have no one, right, that I feel strongly. It was Akanji for a while there before the injury last season. But this year, I think the closest thing we have to that has been Tati. Anything good that we have done, any goals we've scored, he has largely been involved in. Looking at the statistics right now, he has 2 goals and 3 assists, 5 goal contributions. The second closest is Akanji with 2 goal contributions. So Castellanos is about 75% of our total goal contributions this year. And this game, we lost a bunch of key players, Guendouzi, Rovella, all these guys out. Someone was going to have to step up and just kind of say, like, I got to put my stamp on this game. And Tati did today.
Yeah, no, 100%. A quick note just for any Milan friends that are tuned in, Rafa Leao has been inconsistent because he's only played in 1 match. So this past match against Napoli, comes off the bench for his first appearance this season in Serie A, was injured. So that's why he hasn't made the impact. But, Christian Pulisic, obviously, I did a video on TikTok yesterday dubbing him the best player in Serie A right now. I think the performances have been outstanding. But to your point,
if you guys can't tell, we're American.
Look, it doesn't matter, American or not. Like,
Exactly.
you can't. The performances are the performances, and but on the Lazio side, Tati very much this season has been our game changer. And you said it, like, everything that we've done that's been a positive, he has been involved, particularly from his position to find assists, to walk away with goal contributions, even in a match against Roma in which he walked away with no goal contributions because we were unable to find the back of the net. He was still the impact. He was still the one that came out, and it was his energy, his fight, his determination, all of the intangibles that started to change the game and provide opportunities for Lazio. So absolutely, you kind of hope that it was going to be Zaccagni this season, but he just hasn't been the same since the injury. I don't
Yeah,
know what it is. There's moments he still looks the same. He's still earning fouls. He's still doing some of those things, but I don't know what it is. Something's not clicking with him. But Tati absolutely has stepped up to be a game changer so far this season. And so, yeah, I think he has a real opportunity to have a special season if this continues, and he's going to need a little bit of help. So,
yeah.
I know Cancellieri walked away with the I think Serie A gave him the man of the match officially for this one, but strong performance from Cancellieri. Obviously bagged a goal. He didn't miss a clear-cut opportunity, but for me, it really was between Tati and Provedel. We just talked about Tati, but I just want to hammer down on Provedel a little bit because the way he closed out that first half, it absolutely changed the game. And it's easy to see 3-0 and go, okay, keeper makes a couple changes. But you and I obviously have criticized Provedel, and rightfully so. Like, he was benched last year, and it was those types of games where maybe he lets one of those in, and it's not necessarily completely at fault, but making those big saves allowed us to retain that lead, allowed us to cruise to this clean sheet. So I think he played a big part in closing this one out. And again, you look at how many shots on frame and the XG, like Genoa did threaten. So I can't understate how important Provedel was in this one. But Tati, again, it's got to be him for his contributions. Now,
I do want to add real quick, just Cancellieri. I think that he did put in a really good defensive shift. I can think off the bat like 4 tackles he made, good tackles. But yeah, I mean, like, he's not my man of the match, but he also definitely, while he had the 1 goal, I do think he practically was playing like a right wing back today. Many times he was hustling back. So credit and kudos to him on that too.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I said it in the first match of the season. I remember, there was, he was obviously kind of sloppy. There was some turnovers, but there were those things that he would do that I know Sadi values, right? It's why he loved Felipe Anderson. Now, Felipe had much more technical ability, but if he can grow and become a dangerous player on the attacking side, I think he can be a very well-rounded player for Sadi. Now, it'll be interesting once Isaacson is back and healthy, how those two kind of duel it out for that position, because it's safe to say neither one of them has kind of owned that role in that starting position. So on the Didone side, who was your least impressive today?
Man, I don't know. I feel like mine was. I think I have to go with Dia here.
I struggled with this one. Yeah, I agree. But
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I really, really struggled because I was like kind of looking at 2 or 3 players, but they all played their role. Like, I know what you're saying about Dia, because I had here, like, look, the 3 players that I was throwing in there for consideration were Dia, Cataldi, and Basic. But like, okay, Dia maybe like largely invisible, but he was still like all over the place, and in that role, like it was him and Cataldi that covered the most ground, and he wasn't really active, but he wasn't like in attack, but he wasn't like bad. I don't know. I didn't notice too many moments where I was like, man, he fumbled the bag, or, he wasn't connecting on his passes, or it just like seemed like he wasn't part of the attack. But then
he almost played as a third center mid today. It felt like he was just there to be a body, chase people down. But the reason I gave it to him is because of all the scoring opportunities we had, I can't think of one moment he was involved in it.
Yeah, so no, for sure.
As an attacker, like, I appreciate the work he did, but because of the position he plays, like, if he was a midfielder, if he was Basic and doing that same work, it would be a different rating, right? Like, oh, you did your job, you're great. And part of it was his job today, but like every single counterattack that we had, it was Cancellieri, Castellanos, and Zaccagni. involved. Dia was never in that conversation, and for that, it's a bit harsh, but just simply because of he's the least good of the bunch,
Yeah.
then I'll give it to him.
Again, it was just a weird match because I mean he kind of, and I don't know if this was instruction from Sadi or just the game plan. I mean he was all over the place. He just wasn't involved on the ball in these attacking moments, but he wasn't bad. Like again, he only had he was 13 for 15 on passes. Like had a couple defensive contributions, had one shot on frame and 30 touches, not a ton, but it was just an odd match versus somebody like Cataldi that I looked at in his role, little sloppy in the passing. I mean,
Yeah,
25 of
no, he
38,
was. He was.
66% possession or passing, right? Like when you talk about Rovella, you're talking about 90s, high 90%. Really, really smart when it comes to retaining the ball, which again, some of this was maybe more high risk passing. He was clearing the ball a lot, but I just didn't think he was particularly sharp. Versus Dia just seemed like he wasn't in and around anything. I don't know. It's just a weird performance. So I think it's fair to say Dia. Basic, I'm not even gonna like. I just felt like I was like he was just nice to be there. So I don't even. I
He's
can't
just a
even
body we
criticize.
needed. He's just a body that we
Yeah,
had to throw in there.
yeah. So can't even like, I mean, he wasn't like bad. It wasn't like
That
any
wasn't.
moments that like he stuck out. But for me, I don't know, it's a little bit of the sloppiness with Cataldi's passing today. And then, Dia, obviously, I agree he was invisible, but really odd, really odd. So taking a look at the table now, I mean, Lazio in 12th. It's just seems like we're so far out. 6 points now here after 5 matches. You're looking way up the table. We're 5 points out from 4. Inter
We're
and
6 points out from the European spots, though.
yeah,
It's
fair,
just one game.
100%. Yep. Your top 4 currently, Milan at number 1 with 12 points, Napoli at that same 12 points at 2, Roma with 12 points at 3. So there's kind of a 3-way tie, Juve in 4th at 11, and then Inter, Atalanta, and surprising Cremonese with 9 points. So yeah, 3 points away from European spots, but we are a far, far cry from a team that deserves to be in those spots yet. Tell me, Caleb, what's this look like? We've got some players that went down today. Not sure what that looks like. Thankfully, no midfielders. We've got some important matches coming up. Like, I mean, what's there to be hopeful about? I mean, again, I could look at this and go, okay, 3-0, like counterattacking. Is this way of playing going to be sustainable against better sides? Like our next match is against Torino. I mean, another like mid-table team. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I said last time it was like we talked about it being we just got to hold out till January, and I'm still very much in the mindset of I'm kind of just seeing what happens at this point. I don't really have expectations for the team right now. I would love to keep winning, but this looks like it's going to be again just hold the line type of deal from here on out, right? Like let's wait for our injury, let's wait to get healthy. When you have all these injuries, it's tough for me to have expectations of the team. And I know today you mentioned that we weren't too impressed with the performance itself, but I'm also thinking of the mindset of Pellegrini's come in, Basic has come in, like even Cancellieri coming in. Like these are players that are still not like this is still a weird setup for the team. Cataldi starting, like we have probably 4 people out there that should, that generally wouldn't have started or haven't played together all that significant amount. So it's tough to have those expectations, but I'm personally a bit excited to see how Belayan does and comes back in. Like this is a chance that we have to really see what we have in him. So I'm taking this as more of an approach of what can we learn from the team from here to January? Like, because I really don't have really much expectations at all. It's more so like, let me see what we actually have. And if this is a project that is worth keeping Sadi in, and certain players have questions about Profscar, all these different players that were role players are now getting a chance to play. So that's kind of where my head at is right now with the season, at least this first half of the season.
Yeah, it's a good point to bring up. You mentioned the name Velayan. He'll be returning from his red card suspension. Guendouzi was on a two-match ban, so we still won't see the likes of Guendouzi. So, again, be interesting to see if Sadi sticks with Cataldi Basic or if we get Cataldi Belayan for this one. So I think it's
And
all but certain that Cataldi is going to be in there.
or if he goes Cataldi, Basic, Belayan back to three-man midfield, and we go back to Tati up top and two wingers. I actually think that's potentially more probable. But maybe Sadi saw something today. Like this Dia Tati, this is the Baroni ball right here. Like this is what we saw under Baroni. Clearly there is a Dia and Tati complement each other. We've talked about that many times. We would love to see Tati behind Dia in a lot of cases. But me personally, I think we just keep running Tati and Dia and the same front four and just some kind of the same setup. I think that it worked well for us last season many times. They have experience. This is very familiar to them. But what are kind of your thoughts on what you want to see in terms of personnel lineups here?
Yeah, so I think we should absolutely stick with a two-man midfield.
Okay.
Partly out of just being conservative with keeping guys healthy. I think
Yeah.
I last thing I want to do is increase the chances somebody gets hurt. Throwing all three of them out and not having anybody on the bench concerns me. So I would probably take the same approach and just say, look, let's go with two. We've got one of them on the bench should anything happen. I did obviously, I liked the fact that we were playing more counterattacking today, and so I'm fine with that. Look, Dia and Tati last year did have some level of success together.
Yeah.
And so we saw that again today. And I don't see a big reason to change that element. But, the biggest reason is probably just to ensure that we have somebody on the bench that can play in that midfield.
Let me ask you
And,
this. We
right. At
haven't
least until Guendouzi's back.
Right, 100%. Let me ask you this: a player we haven't talked about and that didn't appear today, Noslin. Our this one chance he gets of playing, right? You would think it's against a relegation side coming in to close out the game. It really seems that like
Yeah,
Sadi
Sadi doesn't rate
does
him.
not rate him at
Yeah, at
all,
all,
man.
at all.
Um,
I still think, look, at the rate our players are dropping like flies, like everybody has an opportunity. Um, whether it's Zakani needing a rest or if he continues, his mediocre run of form, he's going to need a rest at some point anyways. Like there's no reason why he can't come in to spell him on the left. uh, I still think you may need him, right? AFCON's coming, and so Dia is going to be out for that,
that's true.
right? So I still think that there are opportunities for him. It's a long, long season. We've seen guys get hurt. We know AFCON's coming, so I don't know. I think that Sadi, there will come a point where he'll be forced to play him whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, it's just very obvious that again, this is another player that you know it doesn't seem that Sadi feels he can count on it, even though at some point he probably forced to play him. But I still think he deserves a shot to come in. 70th minute. He's gotten the only looks he's gotten is maybe 5 minutes, just at the very tail end. I just see what we have limited bodies here. The player in front of him in that spot potentially is Cancellieri, which is not this is not a Felipe Anderson. This is a guy
Right.
that's very droppable. Like he can be replaced. He's been decent, but he's replaceable. But yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Oh, for sure. Well, we've got another early one. So the game against Torino Saturday at 6 a.m. West Coast, 9 a.m. your time. So not too
Oh,
bad. It is
beautiful for me.
we are back on kind of a normal cadence of
But
matches.
I
So
don't
it is
understand why
Saturday.
we're being scheduled a Saturday match when we play Monday, but every other game we play is Sunday. I don't
Yeah.
understand the scheduling
Yeah,
in
because
Serie
the one following we've got Atalanta back on a Sunday, and
Yeah,
so really odd, really odd scheduling
don't
from
understand that.
Serie A this year. I don't get it, but look, we're coming off 3 points. It's a Torino side that is not particularly strong. They're 15 in the table, so if it's got to be any opponent with the quote unquote short rest, a Torino side is one we'll take. So look, whether it's a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, or a 4-4-2, sempre forza Lazio.